That's really why I gravitated towards the work of Sue Brown, is that it gave me this umbrella to understand, like, when is the appropriate time to put in the appropriate force. And that appropriate force could cover a whole range of different things. And coming from a background of massage therapy, I was deeply connected to the muscular system, and I didn't want to just, never work with that again. It just made perfect sense to find a way that helped me understand, like, how is this part of the adjustment, not something separate from it.
What's going on? My name is Dr. Ben. I want to welcome everybody to the Pre Chiro Podcast, where we're aiming to demystify the path of becoming a chiropractor and building insight into the mind by sharing the perspectives of chiropractors that have been in practice, that are entering into practice, and also students in chiropractic schools. So, Eric, I want to thank you so much for taking the time with us this morning. I know you have a really busy schedule, and the world has got a lot going on. So let's just get right into it. Can you please share a little bit about your background and what you were doing before you became a chiropractor?
Well, Ben, how far back do you want me to go? I wasn't born a chiropractor. I wasn't born into a chiropractic family. In fact, I didn't even know what a chiropractor was until I was like 28 years old. Literally had no idea. It was a completely foreign entity to think about health and wellness from a different perspective other than the one that I and probably most people were raised in, which is just what our developer in chiropractic called the medicine cabinet, right? Like, just born into, I've got a pain, I take something. I've got an issue, I go see the doctor and they do something. It was a very dominant paradigm kind of approach. So, so what was I doing before? I lived in Chicago. I was working in the film business. I wasn't living well. My health was compromised. Even as a young person, I was going down a path that I probably wouldn't want to be on today, because might not be on the planet anymore, if you know what I mean. And I had a sort of a crisis point where it felt like all of the different avenues in my life were suddenly taken away, and I was sort of given a very clear directive, and it came in two sentences. It said, move to San Francisco, learn how to do body work. And at that point in my life, I didn't know even what body work was. I thought it was like, working on cars. Like, what are you talking about, So I moved out here. I started doing massage therapy, and got trained in some really basic skills with my hands, and kind of fell in love with the work and fell in love with working with people. And it was through being a body worker that I got exposed to chiropractic. I started working for a chiropractor, and suddenly watched transformations happen in people's lives that I could not even imagine or explain in any way. I had sort of a life before chiropractic, and my life since then has been so dramatically different and so much more structured and oriented towards, I guess I'll just say, the light than I even could have imagined as a younger person. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we're just trying to shine some light that you weren't born a chiropractor, that who you are today was not who you were before chiropractic school. And me as well. I never heard of chiropractic. I didn't go to a chiropractor until I was 24 years old. So I'm also someone who grew up with a medicine cabinet mindset. And so can you speak a little bit about that transition as a massage therapist into chiropractic school, and sort of the orientation that you had to chiropractic, and also how it evolved once you were in chiropractic school and starting to become familiar with chiropractic?
My first experience was basically doing like little 5-minute warm-up massages before the chiropractor would come by and adjust people. And I would sort of be in an open room with the chiropractor and I would just watch what he was doing. Like, I was absolutely fascinated that, like, in 2 minutes he could figure out like 3 or 4 places that like were stuck, and I could sense them when I was doing the massage, but like what they could zero in on, I was just completely entranced by it. So, you know, it wasn't only maybe 6 months into that I started thinking seriously, like, oh, there's more training here. You know, there's more commitment, there's more focus, there's more learning. But I just felt up for it. I felt drawn into it, even though I was going back to school as an older person. It didn't seem like work to me. It just felt like a sort of natural transition. So I wasn't entirely sure, though, because I didn't know what chiropractic was, that, you know, I didn't know what I was getting into. So, of course, I had to do some research. I went and checked out chiropractic schools, and I also went and checked out the osteopathic school that's in the area. And I did a volunteer gig at a hospital doing some of the energy work and healing work that I had been trained to do. So I was working in a hospital and just getting exposed to that whole like medical paradigm, and like, what do I want to do? Do I want to be a PT? Do I want to be an osteopath? Or do I want to be a chiropractor? And I think the decision came down to chiropractic philosophy is what it came down to. When I went and checked out the chiropractic schools, I was brought into a way of thinking about health that was not from the outside in. That wasn't about putting just medicine into your body or about doing surgery to fix things that were wrong, but about an approach that could optimize your inner healing potential, right? That sort of acknowledged each person's inner life force energy, and that really spoke to me. Something about working with the constructive power of the world and the universe rather than just trying to like fix problems somehow really resonated, and that's why I chose chiropractic school. I also had some good role models. Yeah.
And I want to acknowledge that it took you exposing yourself to all three sides, the osteopathic path, the physical therapy path, and the chiropractic path, to come to the right decision for you. And I believe that's critical for today's student. There's so many options in front of you. If you just take the time, I believe chiropractic is not an option that people are considering. And so I think that this podcast can really just bring chiropractic in front of them. And if this message resonates, then great. Seek further experiences within the context of chiropractic. Go to your local chiropractor. I also went to massage school. I was going towards the physical therapy, medical path, working in a hospital, trying to get my clinical hours. And then I started working for a chiropractor, doing these little 5-minute massages and looking over at the 2-minute chiropractic adjustment, like, whoa, what is going on over there? And our paths were very similar. So it's very interesting. We're having this conversation. So can you speak a little bit about the direction that you took once you were a chiropractic student, and some of the different specific paths within chiropractic school that you took to really develop yourself and work your way into becoming a chiropractor that was ready to serve their community and go out and graduate?
Whoa, yeah, that's the condensing of the journey of chiropractic school. Well, I feel like very fortunate. The school that we both went to, Life West, had this one class called seminar, and basically one time a week you would go sit in a room and listen to some chiropractor who they brought in to speak about whatever they wanted to speak about. And my first quarter in school, there were the first 3 presenters basically changed my whole life. The first speaker was a man named Arnaud Bernier, who is a master chiropractor who's been teaching in our profession for over 30 years. And his brand of being very direct and very philosophical and very passionate just completely oriented me towards the kind of internal discipline that I needed to develop within myself to really succeed. The next speaker was a man named Donnie Epstein, who was a creator of something called network chiropractic, and he had this way of synthesizing information from all of these various disciplines and bringing them together and just resting. And it just, like, chiropractic was just like the perfect little pivot point that became the hub of this wheel of all of these other branches of science and philosophy. And it was just fascinating to hear him speak. And then on the third week, I met my teacher, right? So Sue Brown, this incredibly humble, soft-spoken, but absolute powerhouse of a woman and a teacher, came and presented her work on biogeometric integration, which is a form of chiropractic, a way of looking at the body that explains how bodies distort in response to the stresses that they encounter that they can't integrate. So it was like 1, 2, 3, and suddenly my whole world went from, oh, I'm going to become like a chiropractic doctor, to understanding like, no, I'm going to become a chiropractor, right? Like there's something in and of itself that just stands by itself, that chiropractic has a power and roots and connections to the world and how chiropractors practiced in community. I started to see a set of possibilities for myself, and those possibilities sort of defined themselves for me as I went through school. And it was just a meticulous process of sort of peeling away the things that didn't fit, because, you know, for sure we get exposed to all sorts of things that aren't me and that I was never going to become. You know, like chiropractic is many things to many people, and there's many different paths through school, and each of us, you know, is sort of tasked with having to find the clothes that fit. And sometimes that's a really graceful and easy process, and sometimes, man, it was uncomfortable growing and realizing like, oh gosh, like, no, this isn't me at all. I need to go a different route. So
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that was a great insight into your experience, which was obviously unique. You can't have that type of experience in today's chiropractic education unless you get lucky and you meet the right people on the first week and they're like, hey, come with us. We're going to go into this room and connect with a chiropractor who's passionate, who's aligned with himself and delivering a message that's clear and easy to understand. Because as a new chiropractic student, everything is so new to you. It could be very challenging if you have chiropractors that are speaking to you about their version of chiropractic. Like you said, there's many different versions, and people from different parts of the world are going to be listening to this message and really seeking out a chiropractic education that sounds like the one that you just described, and they're going to have a really difficult time finding that. So our hope is to create some infrastructure in the near future, and that's what we're doing right now, so that students can feel that sort of clear message, that direct communication of chiropractic. And I just want to thank you for sharing that with us, because what you just described, some of your mentors, the people that you were exposed to, their lineage is directly connected to the roots of chiropractic, and people such as yourself are carrying forth that sort of root chiropractic message to students of today. So just to round out your chiropractic student experience, can you speak about your experience heading into the health center and what that was like, and then as you transition to practice, some of the maybe incongruencies that you recognized within yourself, or challenges that you had that you needed to work out in the real world?
Well, yeah, thank you for that question. That's an important transition. And I do just want to, something you picked up on, I just want to acknowledge, like, that is the reason that I've been passionately trying to teach and carry the torch of this work in as meaningful a way as possible. I mean, I do feel like each chiropractic student is going to be the future of the chiropractic profession, and each one of them has to, come to the seeds of truth that are true for them. And, when I discovered that for myself, and I looked around the profession, and, many of the people I collaborate with feel the same way. Dr. John Martinez, and certainly Dr. Katina Manning, and Dr. Elizabeth Welsh. And like, we show up and we teach and we put ourselves out there because we don't see those core root messages being propagated within the profession in the same way that they used to be. And so trying to maintain a teaching that is connected to our roots and our philosophy and our lineage is really deeply important to me, which is why I appreciate what you're doing with this podcast. Yeah. The health center was full of contradictions. The first one was you spend a couple of years learning about the power that made body heals the body, and then they make you put on this white coat to and carry a stethoscope and do all these sort of medical tests and procedures. And I get that. It's like the school has to get you through certain hurdles to make sure that you're not a menace to society, and to make sure that you have certain procedures in place to represent the profession. And all that is, while as a student it seemed contradictory, I've come to understand it as a necessary thing. Mm-hmm. That being said, the doctors in the clinic were full of information, full of clinical experience, full of valuable tidbits of information. I just had to figure out how to get that out of them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And of course, like any place, you kind of gravitate to, the people you connect with and resonate with. And I feel very blessed to have had, teachers there who really trusted me and understood where my skill set was, and also could challenge me to kind of push up my game where places where, I was just being lazy or didn't want to really explore too much. So, the health center was a place to bring very practical applications to bear, and to kind of test your chops a little bit and get some experiences, good, bad, and indifferent. Some of the experience I had in the health center were like, this is amazing. I love connecting with people this way. This is what I'm going to do. And I also had equally valuable learning experiences that were like, I never am going to do it this way. Like this way, this way, I will refer people if they need a lot of ortho and neuro exam kind of procedures. And my way of connecting with the body is going to be different. And so I'll just say that it was a valuable learning experience for the things that I got, and also the things I realized weren't going to fit my practice model eventually. Yeah.
So transitioning into your practice model that you currently practice probably looks a little bit different than where you were at when you first got out of school, but can you speak a little bit about how your practice model has maybe changed, maybe stayed the same, but how you set it up, like how you transitioned into practice?
Well, I mean, I came from the same background as you, which was in body work, working with one person for maybe an hour at a time and focusing in that way. And it was very intimate and very connected. And I really enjoy that. And strangely enough, in COVID times, that's kind of how I'm practicing again. It's kind of come full circle in an interesting way. But the practice model that I really love and thrive in has to do with what's called an open room format. So, in my open adjusting room, I have 7 tables, and then I have a private room with an 8th table. And in the course of an hour, I'll see maybe 8 or 10 people in sort of a fluid, circular way, where people don't come in and just get a 2-minute adjustment, but they come in and they're on the table for maybe half an hour. And in that time, I'm coming by and helping them in the sort of process-oriented way explore their body and integrate places that are disconnected and release patterns of deep tension. And so there are different kinds of touch. There's light, energetic touch that brings awareness to their nervous system. There's a deep myofascial touch that releases holding patterns from their muscular system. And then there's the more traditional chiropractic approach, when their body's ready to receive that deeper, more powerful impulse. Then it's super sweet, So that was the model that was really thriving. It gave me the capacity to see about 200 people a week comfortably, working over a 4-day period. And all that has shifted a little bit now with COVID, and we're just kind of riding it out and seeing what happens. But it's still good, and we're still thriving. Yeah.
Sweet. Can you speak a little bit about your involvement in your local massage school, and
Sure.
Also these different tissues that you just described? There are different frequencies, tonally speaking, and also the work that you do is has a tonal quality about it? And can you speak also about your logic on where you're going with these different tissues, or how you're relating to the person on the table, right? Because you're not doing something to somebody, but with somebody, and just giving us some insights into how you work with people.
Yeah, really well said, Ben. Working with people and not just doing things to them is sort of a crucial distinction, you know. It is a way of listening to the body. And when you say like a tonal model, we're literally listening with our hands. And the founder of chiropractic, D.D. Palmer, he talked about this mysterious property that he called tone, that he could start to sense with his hands and with his awareness, like where things were sort of in tune and out of tune in the body. And different tissues have a different tonal resonance or different tonal quality. And so there are some places where the primary tension in the body is stored in the connective tissue. And there are other places where the primary tension is stored in the muscular tissue, the contractile fibers. And there are other places where the tension is stored deep in the bone or in the relationships between the bones, that architectural. So we call this the passive subsystem, the active subsystem, and the architectural structural system, right? Different chiropractic techniques have focused on these different types of tissue, right? So different approaches, sometimes like, like network releases, primarily meningeal tensions. And AK works a lot with the muscle and the myofascia of the body, right? That's applied kinesiology. Traditionally, chiropractic techniques are taught to release osseous tension by cavitating joints and helping bodies kind of reposition things that have come out of alignment, and that kind of approach. And the beauty of this biogeometric integration is that it gives us permission to approach all three depending on how they're needed. That's really why I gravitated towards the work of Sue Brown, is that it gave me this umbrella to understand, like, when is the appropriate time to put in the appropriate force. And that appropriate force could cover a whole range of different things. And coming from a background of massage therapy, I was deeply connected to the muscular system, and I didn't want to just, never work with that again. It just made perfect sense to find a way that helped me understand, like, how is this part of the adjustment, not something separate from it. So I hope that explains a little bit about that tonal idea that you dropped in. I have taught at the San Francisco School of Massage for like nearly 20 years. And right now, of course, they're going through their own challenges with COVID and stuff. But I have had a sort of a passionate mission to improve the quality of skilled touch in the world. And one of the ways that I've done that is by teaching massage therapy students as well as chiropractic students. And I deeply value that approach. I think it changes people's lives. I have an incredibly talented massage therapist working with me at my office. And anyway, I just think there's a lot of synergy between the two. Yeah.
Absolutely. Just to keep going with this synergy between chiropractic and massage, when I was in massage school, I studied craniosacral, and I've recognized that you're offering craniosacral for chiropractors at different times. And then also when I was in massage school, I studied shiatsu, I studied different meridians, but I also studied the chakra system within that context. And I've seen you talking to chiropractors about adjusting through the chakras.
Yes.
So can you speak about the inspiration that you've had to try and build bridges between the work that you've kind of embodied when you were practicing body work and massage, and now this new identity or this new embodiment of being a chiropractor, and kind of just how it's all synergistic with one another? I guess what I'm trying to get at is, if we're speaking to massage therapy students or yoga teachers or people that are just in the world and looking to go to that and take that next step, or maybe pivot to a new profession, why is chiropractic in alignment, and how can the skills that they've developed up until this point really carry over and support them in this next level or this next life as a chiropractor?
Wow. Great question. Really amazing. So for me, chiropractic has many, many facets, and it can be many things in the hands of different people, but still accomplish like the same incredible results. Like, I've been to some chiropractors that have like barely touched me. They just put little wedges under my hips and balanced my spine and pelvis in like really strange ways. And I've had incredibly powerful results. And I've had other chiropractors that have had like huge, powerful crunching structural adjustments. And those are also incredibly valuable. I've had some chiropractors that really just worked with my tissue until I felt my bones just kind of like pop back into place in a really gentle way. Like, so many different approaches, so many different techniques within chiropractic. And whoever you are before, whatever your skill set is, whether you're working with the body as a yoga teacher or as a Feldenkrais practitioner, or you're working in craniosacral model, or you're working from shiatsu or the Eastern therapies, right? Like, all of that is completely acknowledged within a chiropractic framework because it's a holistic, multi-dimensional look at how bodies work and how, I'll just speak to it, like how our spirits live encased in these bodies. And like, that intersection is something that the philosophy of chiropractic speaks to and acknowledges with such eloquence and such grace. And it, in many ways, I think, creates the perfect pivot point between Western and Eastern ways of looking at health and looking at the body. And I think the founders of chiropractic intentionally placed us right in that pivot point. Bring whatever skill set you have, whether you're really interested in doing technical fix-it work, or you're interested in sort of energy healing, whether you're interested in helping bodies move in a particular way through yoga or other movement disciplines. Like, all of that will deeply inform the chiropractor that you're going to become. You won't have to throw those things away. You're going to integrate them and help bring them up to a higher level of understanding with your chiropractic understanding. Yeah.
That is such a beautiful essence of what we're trying to communicate to you, the prospective student who's just considering this profession and wondering whether it's in alignment with who you are. There's so much that goes into becoming a chiropractor, but that message right there, that you're going to make it, whatever resonates with you, whatever you gravitate towards, you're going to make it into your own form of chiropractic that you can provide and really change people's lives. So, Eric, thank you so much for providing such a clear message for the prospective student. It is very beautifully worded there. As we wrap up here, can you just share a little bit about the profession as you've seen it? And we can be transparent here, but sometimes when chiropractic students come into this profession, they're surprised by many things. There's a lot of fragmentation and potential divisiveness. But as we're building a new generation of chiropractic students that have shared experiences, that have gone through potentially a Pre Chiro program and heard this message that you've shared with us, whether they're in Australia or Argentina, whether they're in Spain or here in the Bay Area, California, can you describe a little bit about how we can move forward as a profession, and kind of just how you see this whole story of chiropractic unfolding or unraveling itself or expanding itself into the future?
Well, I mean, a lot of it depends on the lens that you look through, right? And, if you look through one lens, you can see a lot of divisiveness and a lot of division, where half the chiropractic profession wants to become more like medical doctors, and they want to prescribe medication, and they want to do certain kinds of, surgical procedures, and and the other half of the profession wants to move away from that and stay in this sort of separate but equal, the sort of philosophically minded, helping the body heal itself from within by removing interference to the expression of the body's intelligence. So those are, from the outside, sort of radically different. But from the inside, I think, people who come to see chiropractors are coming typically because they have some sort of an issue. They have some sort of a concern. They have some sort of a experience in their body that isn't working right, and they're looking for some guidance and some assistance. And it's almost like it doesn't really matter that much, like where, like there's a bigger lens, and that lens is like people are getting help through this profession, and they're getting helped in dramatic and sometimes ways that no other field of healing is able to really provide for them. So wherever it is on the spectrum that you fall, it's like realize like there is a place within chiropractic for you. And I think the larger framework is like, well, where is the profession going? Well, that depends on you, the student, right? The profession will become what you bring to it, right? Like, yes, you're going to go through your own transformational learning as you become a chiropractor, but like where you resonate and like what you're called to do, and like you will be the future of the chiropractic profession. And so that's quite malleable. Chiropractic is evolving. It has deep traditional roots, but its expression in the world is able to shift and change and adapt to different cultural contexts and different countries and different ways of understanding what people's primary concerns are, like how they live in their bodies. Like the chiropractor's job is to help people do that from whatever perspective that chiropractor comes from. That's the goal. So
beautiful,
yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, no matter which culture you come from, no matter which background you come from, as a chiropractor, you can provide such great value to your community.
Unbelievable.
In such a sustainable way. We just use our hands most often, and we're able to connect with people on such a deep level, just person to person, human to human. And as long as humans are here, I'm sure chiropractic will exist in many forms. And thank you for continuing to engage in this kaleidoscope of chiropractic approaches that really aim to just serve the student and uplift their experience of chiropractic school.
Well, yeah, I will definitely just want to make myself available if you come into contact with prospective students who just want to have a phone conversation or just a chat. I've had many students over the years just sort of call me before they make that decision to like go to school, or used to be that you could come in and shadow a chiropractor and that kind of a thing, but maybe during COVID that's got to change a little bit. But reach out, make a phone call, let's have a chat. I'm happy to talk with you. So
thank you so much. Appreciate you very much. Thank you for taking the time today.
Likewise, Ben, really nice to connect with you, and good luck with everything that's going to happen next week for you.
Thanks, Eric. Thank you so much, man.